Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast. I am John, and we are talking episode 7 of Survivor, Edge of Extinction. It's the merge episode, which means we are spending time, or these people, I should say, are spending time with each other for the first time, which leads right into the fact that I am spending my first time this season with somebody. It's Matt. Hello, co-host Matt. How are you?
I am great, John. How are you? I'm glad that we are finally getting to spend this time together. It's always very special when the two best hosts of the Purple Rock podcast get to spend time together.
Oh, it really is. I can't even think of who the other hosts are, but I can definitely claim that we are the best.
I mean, that's how you know, because you just don't know who anyone else is.
Right.
So
I've already forgotten their names. I do know their 4 letters, but that's about all I can remember at this point.
I mean, well, that's a requirement that we insist on.
Right.
So.
It's on the job application.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk this episode. First of all, what'd you think?
I thought it was okay. I mean, I thought that, the boot was a little interesting in that they went about it in a slightly confusing way. But overall, I'm like, it's kind of the way I'm feeling about this season, which is that it's okay.
Yeah, I think the episode felt a little rushed. I think that was partly because it had to be. We had to get through the whole drama with the returnees and sending them back to the island and blah, blah, blah. They really had even less time than usual to cram in the whole merge dynamics. So we didn't get a whole lot. We missed out on those super important merge food is yummy confessionals that Scientific Edgic will tell us who's going to win.
Yeah, we basically got one confessional about the merge, and it was from the now existent player, Julia.
Well, then she must be the winner because she talked about the merge, and that is the most important confessional. Edgic tells us this, and why would Edgic ever be wrong?
Right. And why would they give that confessional to her? It's obviously because she's winning. So
right. You give that confessional to the winner, and that's how they reveal who wins every season of the show. 100% of the time, works every time.
Right.
So we got to see Julia in part, I would guess, because her alliance, her group of 6, managed to take out Joe.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this was the time for that? Was this the point at which you need to take out Joe?
This is one of those moves where I would say that my intuition is no, but on the other hand, it's not a huge loss that you did it. I don't think it's a really big deal that you take out Joe right now, honestly. You still have 6, and while 6 is not a majority with 12, I don't think the other 6 are going to rocks for you. Where you're really going to be running into trouble, though, is the fact that you don't know what those other 6 have in terms of advantages. And as it turns out, they have quite a lot of them. But also, you're going to be taking out Joe pretty soon anyway, hopefully. You're just hoping to take out a couple of the, underdogs first before you do so. And maybe keeping him around means that they'd aim for him if they play an idol. Maybe that's the best reason to not target Joe right now. But, I don't know. It's one of those moves that my gut says probably not, but also I don't think it's that bad if you do.
No, see, my gut says definitely not. I get a strong feeling that Joe couldn't win this season. I just think, he's useful to have around. He's not very strategic. It doesn't seem like the other players respect him a whole lot, at least the ones that have interacted with him so far. From what we've seen of his former tribe mates, it's not like they put Joe up on this pedestal as Fishback once did. No. It's clearly a different dynamic. I don't think they kind of buy into the Joey Amazing act. I don't know if he would get that many votes at the end.
And that's a really good point, because in some ways, by sending him to the edge of extinction, you now create a way for him to get votes, because suddenly he will now be around the rest of the jurors. He will be providing for them, presumably. If he comes back in, they might like him from that time because he's not going to be going around and, being really awful to all of them. And his flaws in the game won't have stood in relief because he just won't have been playing it. Whereas if he spends his entire time playing the game and just not doing anything, then how is that, then everyone he's playing with is kind of like, so Joe's just there, so why do we care? In some ways, it's almost like this creates a path to a win for him that just being along for the ride wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it slightly boosts his marginal chances of winning anyway. And plus, I feel like if you kept him in the game, Joe's a big part of who Joe is that he's like this big immunity threat, right? So
right.
Joe winning immunities actually, at least for the short term, if you're this 6 group, probably helps you because him winning immunities means that your actual targets won't be immune.
That's true.
And now, yes, that then means that with that lack of immunity, they might play some idols, but at least you took one weapon away from them. Like Joe would be robbing them of that immunity if he was winning it himself. And I think even if the newbies wanted him gone to free up screen time, they would never say that, but, I'm sure it's motivated some of them. But even then, I don't think it makes that much sense because he doesn't get a ton of real screen time. He gets shown his challenges are the place for him to shine.
Right.
You don't see a lot of confessionals. You don't see a whole lot of him strategizing because I don't know that it happens a whole lot. So, I feel like this was just a bad move.
No, I mean, and you're kind of winning me over. I was a little more ambivalent. I was kind of like, if this is a move that you think had to happen at some point, in the next 4 or 5 votes, then I'm fine with it being now. Maybe it's a little early, but whatever. But if there's a move but what your point is, which is kind of winning me over, is I'm not sure this is a move that did have to happen.
No.
At all. And that's compelling because you're right. Joe keeps Kelly from winning. She keeps Hooch from winning.
Well, I think Hooch keeps Hooch from winning.
Well, that's true.
I've seen that guy compete in challenges.
Yeah, just it's not very good. Of course, I mean, well, maybe that's the big point that they're not really worried about any of those underdogs winning a challenge because they've seen them compete in challenges.
You know what? And that's a fair rebuttal. Because I have seen those people compete. I mean, I think Lauren is the only one that you're remotely afraid of. And fair enough, because this specific challenge, she was one of the last competitors. So
yeah, but everyone else, I think David was the second longest survivor from that. David and Kelly, I think, went out around the same time, and it, there was still a bunch of people left after them, I think.
Yeah, as I said, I don't get it. I mean, even in Tribal Council, if you believe what they were saying there, Joe was just hanging around painting a flag for several days. He's not some conniving force. He's not out hunting for idols, apparently. I would have kept him around. I mean, might even just take him to the end.
Right.
I wouldn't be all that afraid. I mean, we've never seen him in a final Tribal Council. He might be terrible at it. As I said, it's more that I get the vibe that this specific group that he's cast with just probably is not going to be impressed by an immunity run. They're just not impressed by the mystique. They're not going to hand him a win.
Well, my rebuttal to that is I think it's true that the comma group is not impressed by Joe, but I don't know, and they can't know what the other group thinks of Joe.
Right.
And so that group of people who they do hope to vote out and who will be populating the jury probably, they might be impressed by Joe. And so suddenly this person who you're sitting next to and then someone else from your alliance is sitting next to and all the people who are not impressed, suddenly they, they are not the majority of the jury, and the majority of the jury is suddenly the Joe fans. And then it's kind of well, damn, we played ourselves because the people who weren't impressed by him were the ones who aren't the numbers here. And so that's where I feel this could run into trouble. But, I feel you could wait a little bit to see how people react to him. And as you said, he's sitting around campaigning a flag. Joe is not the type of goat, if you want to call him that, because I think what you are describing is a goat that you have to worry about because he's not going to go off and make his own plans. Joe's just going to be like, if you tell Joe what to do, he's going to be like, yeah, okay. And he's going to do it.
I mean, it's funny because I would hesitate to call him a goat generally, but I think in this specific season, I don't get a super strong vibe from Aubrey that she's a big Joe fan. I mean, Kelly's played with Joe before. I similarly don't get it there. You're right, though. We don't know necessarily how some of the other loser tribe might perceive him. I mean, it's possible that Bob Loblaw might be really impressed by challenge prowess because he certainly doesn't have himself. So, I think in this specific context, I'd be at least tempted. Not even, I shouldn't say I'd be tempted to bring him as a goat. I would be fine with a world in which Joe won his way to the end.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And I think, one of the reasons why I think we got a scene of them kind of strategizing about what to do, the Comma Six. And we saw basically we saw 5 of them comment on what to do. And it seemed like they were all pulling in different directions. They all had their different ideas. And I kind of get the sense that some of them probably were saying what we're saying, which is that we're really not worried about Joe. Or at least we're not worried about him now. And Ron seems like the big Joe guy, the guy who's really targeting Joe. And Ron does seem like one of the more active players from Comma. And I think at a certain point, you just kind of give into activity. You're just like, look, you care more than I do. So yeah, sure. That's what we'll do. But you're right. This might not have been, and here's the thing. Even though I'm a bit more ambivalent on whether or not it was a good move with you, I don't think it's going to work out. I don't think that this 6 is going to dominate and run the show.
Yeah. If this is how they plan to run it, I feel like it's not going to go well. This is the other, thing that we didn't really discuss about why this was probably not the time to take out Joe is that now Aurora knows she's outside of the 6. So not only did you take out Joe, you had an 8-person group. You took out Joe. You're not down to 7. You're down to 6 because you also didn't include Aurora in that vote. So you just made her a free agent. Now, theoretically, it's 6 of you versus 6 not yous. And, unless you think you've convinced Rick to your side, which is possible. And you're right, the other side is fragmented. But at the same time, if you're trying to avoid risk, and I don't think you should always necessarily do that, but you're playing a little bit with fire here.
I agree you're playing a little bit with fire, but we've seen so many times where people where people vote out an ally with, someone without telling their close ally, and then just were like, look, we still want to work with you. It's just, we know how close you were for him. And, we thought this needed to be a blind side. We were worried you would tell him. We're with you to the end. And they fold right back in. There's usually some hurt feelings, at least for a little bit. And maybe there's a blow up later, but it's usually they're kind of like, well, yeah, I could go 6-6 and go to rocks, which, no. Or, yeah, I could fold in and be the 7th and try to find a path later.
So you're saying Aurora should go with the woo strategy of yeah, us. It's always been us. I'm in.
Hey, Woo got to the end.
That's what I'm saying. It's not a terrible play.
Woo probably should have won that season if he wasn't Woo.
Yeah. Really wooed it up at the end there.
Yeah, it's his fatal flaw. He has to be himself. Mm-hmm. But yeah, but the problem is about whether the 6 is going to run a show. The bigger problem to me is the fact that I actually kind of believe that they're going to pull together, and I think that they're going to be mostly united. I also think that, their big problem is the fact they don't know the other side is 3 idols.
They're really packing.
And there is no way that at least that none of those are going to go off and start blowing them up. And it's just so no, is this 6 going to run the show? Hell no. Will the winner come from this 6? Possibly. maybe even probably.
Yeah, I feel like the front runners are in this 6.
Yeah, I think there's one person outside of the 6 who I might include there, but I'm not sure if that's a result of the fact that he had a very unique journey up to this point and he was guaranteed screen time for that, or the fact he's a good presence, or the fact that he's going to do very well in the game. All of those are possible.
Is it maybe related to your Edgic chart, though?
I have been filling that. I'm not gonna, say anything about my Edgic chart. It's very nicely colored and lined up, and if I don't tell anyone, then I was right all along. So
I like that we fight the same fight from like 3 years ago that we clearly lost already. We're just going to keep fighting it anyway.
If we never admit that we lost it, we didn't lose it.
Exactly. It's a valid strategy. So we're talking about this comma 6. You already mentioned the all-important merge confessional, which the obvious winner always gets. That person was Julia. Hey, do you remember when Julia was invisible? Isn't it strange that the show is suddenly reminding us that she exists? Who could have predicted that?
I mean, it's kind of like when someone starts going to tribal council and actually mattering in the game, you start to hear their thoughts a little bit.
It's crazy. The comma 6 had previously discussed voting out returning players, and then at what was the first opportunity for many of them, right, they actually did that. So, if only we'd had like 7, 8, 15 more confessionals about their plans earlier, this season would have been so much better. If I could have known episode after episode, yes, Julia's still on board with this. Yes, Gavin's still on board with this. Yes, Julie is still on board. That would have made this season so much better for me. That's the confessional that I need.
Yeah. I mean, and again, the Julia confessional just reminded me once again that we ain't missing a lot when we're not hearing from her.
That's what I'm saying. What's funny is that I picked Joe as the boot this episode, which nailed it.
Good work.
And the reason that I did that is because we already knew Kama wanted to target him, and Aubrey was gone. So, they'd mentioned going after Joe and Aubrey. Aubrey's already gone. The 5 minutes of airtime that I've seen of these people had told me, they want to get rid of the returning players, and Joe was theirs. I figured they'd go after Joe, and they did. It's not like I needed dozens of minutes more content to figure that out. Like, the storyline has been established, right?
Right. They got the storyline in as efficient a time as they could.
And they still allowed us time to see Wendy saving chickens while also slaughtering cows for her cheeseburgers that she desperately wants.
Hey, well, now she can get those cheeseburgers.
Yeah, she can finally officially get them because we have our first 2 quitters.
Woo! I am glad that because the whole gimmick of this Edge of Extinction is that people are there until they quit and will be there until they quit for the entire game. I'm glad we actually did get some quitters.
Me too.
Because I think it actually kind of is like, oh yeah, so this won't just be like island vacation. It'll be like, okay, no, I actually am done with the game. And yeah, I mean, and these I think were the 2 most obvious people to quit.
Yeah, they're right up there. And do you blame either of them for noping out of this thing?
Hell no.
Me neither. I mean, the thing is, even if they made it back, there's no way either of them wins, right?
What would be so great was if they stayed for a couple days, saw Joe get off the boat, and were like, "Oh fuck no, we ain't winning now."
Now's the time I'm pulling that flag.
Yeah, exactly. That would be the best, because then it would kind of be, and actually that'd be really funny now if people will now quit instead of no, I can't beat Joe, I'm out.
It would be good. The thing is, with Wendy and Keith, what are they going to do? Stay? Yeah. They have at least 2 full weeks, I think, left that they'd have to stay on that island, eating minimal things, being bored out of their minds because they're not even doing challenge. They're doing nothing for most of the day.
They might have more than 2 weeks.
That's what I'm saying. Is they got a minimum of 2 weeks. I'm trying to get to day 35-ish is probably when they'll come back.
No, yeah, good point. Yeah, I was counting to 39. Yeah, but no, 35. Yeah, they probably got 2.5 weeks.
Right, but even then, so you wait there 2 more weeks, you survive through that, and you have a low odds of winning the challenge. then you have a near zero chance of making Final Tribal Council. And honestly, if you're doing rounding, 0% chance of winning. So, I mean, like, we cheer players for playing the odds even when the odds don't work out. Like, Wendy and Keith are playing the odds. Like, yeah, in theory, they could have actually stuck around and maybe they did actually win their way back into the game. But, like, I think they recognized, okay, the odds are so infinitesimally small here. It's just not worth pursuing. And I don't blame them.
No, me neither. Do you feel like, though, we need a little bit of a transition scene? Like, because we just, like, cut to sounding the flag being raised and them going off, and I'm like, wait, who the hell's even leaving here?
It was so weird. I mean, this is, again, the thing that I was getting to earlier with it being a rushed episode. It was like, Probst loves to draw out the tears and have these big dramatic moments. Like, it seems like that's the sort of thing where they would have built something up. Nope, it was just, here's a flag going up, here's a quick confessional, and peace, we're out.
Yeah, I kind of feel they did it so quick because everyone was so gung-ho about going back to the island, probably because they all got caught up in the moment. And then they got back there and they're like, wait, no, I'm out. Can I leave?
Keith is like, I remembered what this island is. I'm good.
Yeah, and they probably didn't want to step on the heartwarming moment they just had beforehand about where they're all so excited to stay.
It is good. I think they even split it up with the commercial break, right? Didn't they come back?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It was super abrupt. I was like, wait, I was very confused, especially because now that I watch with my dog always wanting attention, I was kind of like, did I miss something? And it's like, no, I didn't.
What happened during that Outback Steakhouse ad?
Yeah, right?
really turned Wendy around. So, yeah, our first two players are gone. The interesting thing, though, which, again, came up later in the episode, everyone else that stuck around is a juror. And
that's right.
That includes the first boot of the fucking season. Like, we have jurors that have not met some of these players. Like,
have not met most of these players.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now. Yeah, I mean, a substantial amount of them. Does that impact the game too? Do you feel like that's, not unfair necessarily, but do you think that kind of fucks with this game?
A little bit. I mean, yeah, it does. Like, it's, I've expressed this opinion in the past with seasons I actually like, where the jury starts before the merge, and it's kind of like, well, that stinks that this person is now trying to judge someone's game that they've never met, because of course they're not going to judge their game. They're going to judge the people they were with all the entire time and that they like. I mean, now Reem doesn't like anyone, so I don't know. Maybe that's a leveling factor there.
I love that, like, since she doesn't even, like, she never met any of the common tribes, so it'd be cool if she got to, like, Final Tribal Council. She still doesn't know their names, and she's like, I'm gonna give my vote to Redhead, or Pineapple Shirt Kid, or, like, not even knowing the names to write down. It'd be amazing.
If she just writes down Juli and then leaves the last letter blank, and it's like, which one?
Figure it out. This is lame. I'm leaving.
No, I mean, like, so yeah, it stinks a little bit, but I don't think it's, like, crippling to the game. I mean, I don't think that someone not meeting the other contestants, I think you do see a lot of the game, you filter it through both what you hear about from the people that will be arriving on the edge of extinction, what happened, and then what you see at Tribal. You do hear a lot about people, and you kind of get a sense of what the dynamics are, and they'll be very heavily shaped, of course, by people's feelings, which absolutely changes your opinions, but I don't think it's a huge deal, but it is a little annoying to me.
I think it's odd just because your opinions are going to be almost fully shaped. I mean, your first-hand opinions will be fully shaped by tribal councils. So it's like encouraging, and this might have been part of their motivation, but it's encouraging people to, like, act out at tribal council, like, save your fireworks for there, because, you need to impress these jurors that you've never met, because, Reem doesn't even know your fucking name, and it's 3 weeks into this game.
Right. But there's only 3 jurors they've never met. It's Reem, it's Chris, and it's, I think a bunch of people have met Aubrey. Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, exactly.
So it's 2.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't think they're really swaying the entire vote.
Well, especially because we might end up with a really fucking massive jury.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Because if everyone from this point on is on the jury, then that's, I think, 13 people on the jury.
Yeah, and it has not really been established. What if someone quits from Extinction, whatever? Are they no longer a juror?
I think that's the way it is. So I think if you quit, you're not a juror. Now, at some point, if they start getting a bum rush and mass quits, they might not do that. But this is kind of what I think's happening. I think if you don't want to go to Extinction Island, you don't get to be a juror, which kind of stinks for people. Like if you get voted off and you're sixth place, and it's well, you can go to Extinction Island and suffer some more after you've been out here for 30 days. Or you can quit now and you won't be a juror. And it's well, but what? I'm sixth.
See, I mean, at that point though, you're so far in.
Well, yeah,
it's a couple days, but
right. It's more like eighth place would be the one where I think there'd actually be kind of a tough choice.
Right. I think that even if you end up quitting Extinction, I don't think they're taking you off the jury. I think this is the jury from here on. It just, to me, you could get, not that it'll necessarily happen, but you could get too many people just calling it quits, and you end up with, theoretically, a 5-person jury. I feel like that they're already screwing with the formula enough. I don't think they're going to do that much further.
I just don't think that we're going to see so many people quit that we're going to go down to an unmanageably low jury level. So
it's true. I'm just saying it's theoretically possible.
I'm not saying it's not theoretically possible. I'm just saying my intuition is that if you quit, you're off the jury.
It's still just probably going to blow my mind the whole season that the first boot is a jury member.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Yeah, me too. It's wild.
I mean, bravo to them for picking an entertaining first boot, though, to have on the jury.
The anti-Queen of Ponderosa there.
Yes, she is certainly making the most of her time.
I mean, and I guess this kind of brings up something, which is the entire Edge of Extinction thing, which we've been very worried about all season, and I think could still really blow up in our face in the way it impacts the game down the stretch. I've been enjoying what they've been doing with it so far. Conceptually, I still don't like it, but the way they've been editing it and the content we've been getting from it, I've been enjoying it. In fact, I would say it's been more consistently entertaining to me than the other stuff, because I think some of the other episodes have been kind of boring on Island, whereas this has always given me just enough where I'm okay, that was a little fun and now I get to move on.
Yeah, I think from a game mechanic standpoint, it's pretty terrible.
Yes.
Television-wise, you're right. I mean, it hasn't been bad. It has offered some entertainment. I mean, really, you can't complain too much about it. I say that, and yet I'm proven wrong on this because people do. But they spend, 3 or 4 minutes on it each episode. It's not a ton. And that's, I'm sure, what they're going to continue to do. It was a big thing before the season that this was the way to get Joe to win. It's not just that. It's the way to get Joe more screen time because people tune in to see Joe. It's not you listening, probably, but people do that. So, we'll get to see clips of Joe swimming and shit and fishing for people, and it's going to offer some content that maybe a few of the casual fans stick around for, but game wise, it's pretty bad. As you mentioned earlier, Joe, or anybody really, now gets to go to Extinction with all the other jurors. One of them's going to make it back into the game, and during that time, while they're all spending time together, that's the time to lobby, get them on your side, make, if you really go in for a bonding thing there where you're all in this together and, we're all going to root for whoever makes it out of here. That's the way to go. Is that actually a helpful thing to do? And ending up going there?
Right. I mean, and that's where my biggest concern is with this twist. It's not even the fact that you have someone who's voted out who comes back, which I don't like, but I can live with, but it's the fact that since they're spending so much time with the jury themselves, it's not just a lobbying thing for themselves, but they'll have perfect knowledge of what the jury thinks of everyone that's left in the game. They will know who the goats are. they will know who the front runner is. They will be able to come back and say, hey, yeah, I know you feel like you got to get me off, but everyone's going to vote for him.
Right. And that's, you would be if you're the returning player, you're the only one with that information. Obviously, you can lie about it.
Sure.
And you should. But, that's an effective tool that you're giving this person that got voted out of the game. Like
right.
You would think that person should be penalized for having been voted out of the game, but instead they might actually be getting rewarded, which is why I'm saying, as a game mechanic, this is fucking with the concept of this game.
Right. No, and I completely agree with you because it entirely changes the jury's role and your role in interacting with the jury. There's always been, it's kind of like taboo or gauche to interact with the jury. Like you don't want to play to the jury because everyone sees when you're playing to the jury. Only now they don't, because they don't see you playing to the jury. They can assume that you are by the fact you've been spending time with them, but you don't know. Now, the one caveat I will give is if the Edge of Extinction is anything like it was in the first half of the season, half these people will despise the other half of these people by the end, which means
True.
They will not have the entire jury behind them. In fact, they will have like a very small clique that is hardcore behind them, and then like another clique that is hardcore against them, and then another clique that's like, that guy's annoying, maybe I'll vote for them. I don't know yet.
Right.
So,
I mean, the other risk here is if the Extinction person ends up winning the season, a whole segment of fans will probably lose their shit. Like,
yes.
I think Probst and the production staff probably see, someone coming back from Edge of Extinction to win as like a cool narrative. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's universal.
I don't think it is at all.
I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know what the worst of Survivor fans are thinking. So someone hit me up with what they might be saying about it on Survivor Facebook. But I kind of feel like, at least from the corners of Survivor fandom that I frequent, it would not go over well if the returning player ended up winning.
Right. And yeah, I don't know what Facebook's thinking either. I imagine that Rupert wouldn't like it, so I think Facebook wouldn't like it. So, because that's how I figure out how Survivor Facebook's thinking.
Eliza is she's gonna have an aneurysm if it happens.
Oh, but don't give me a reason to root for it. Come on, John.
I know. I actually hesitated. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Is this supporting my case?
It's a game mechanic I don't like. I do think they are televising it and making it as entertaining as possible. And I think in that way they are succeeding.
Well, yeah, and that's why I was saying I want to know what the opinion of more casual fans is.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, there was some fan interaction that led to a change in this episode that was a little minor. Maybe you didn't catch it. I did. But they've now started showing with the player Chirons if they have an immunity idol. Presumably also if you have an advantage. But we saw it for the first time this episode. I actually saw when the person asked for it on Twitter and Probst replied like, hey, that's a great idea. And now it's like 2 weeks later and it actually happened. So I want to encourage all of you, if you have a really stupid idea, just tweet it at Jeff Probst every day until he sees it. You never know. It could happen.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I personally, I'm thinking I'm going to start like a, bring back group, more Rupert for season 40 at him. Yeah. And just, tweet it every day. Ironically at him until he sees it. And then I worry that, people are going to actually get behind it and it's going to be a real thing. People are going to embrace it as an actual campaign, like show sympathy towards Rupert. Like, no, I was doing this ironically. Please don't.
Yeah, no, look, if there's one thing I learned from Frankenstein, it's don't create a monster.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, did you know that the monster
is not named Frankenstein, which is why I called him the monster
I know. Just beating a dead horse. Sorry. Hey, but game mechanic wise though, there was one other one that we saw in this episode, and that is that when Rick returned from Edge of Extinction, he got a freebie kind of almost idol-ish thing.
Yeah.
Did that seem unfair to you?
I thought that what they would do is they would give him immunity for one tribal. Basically be like, okay, he just came back, let's not vote him back out type of thing. Instead, he gets something much better than that, which is he survives one tribal and now he gets like an actual immunity idol. Now, I mean, he's not in a great position in the game, but he's also not in a terrible one. So it does seem a little unfair, but I don't know. The game's unfair. Fair is overrated, honestly.
Yes, absolutely. That's what we should mark for Extinction. Fairness. Want
to change it on the fly?
Yeah, right. The interesting thing is that this almost an idol required him to inform someone else that it existed. So it's like you can't keep it a secret. So
right.
In some ways, it is a limited idol because, it takes at least one tribal council before it'll actually protect you.
Sure.
And you can't keep it secret. So I don't know if that's a hindrance or a help. Do you think he did the right thing with it, first of all?
Yeah, I do. Because I think if you tell someone that's not on your side, you just encourage them to vote you out. Because why would they keep you around so you can get an idol? Now, the point would be that they would also get an idol, but if they're in the majority, they might find your idol more threatening than their idol. There's also the fact that it's not an actual idol. And when people talk about the ability for idols to influence people, we've usually seen those happen when they're actual idols. Like, Yule pulls Penner over because he had an idol, not because he had a not yet idol. It's a different thing, and then there's the problem of you don't know these people. You don't know who to approach. And this is something that is, an idol's also defensive more than it is offensive. If you go to someone in the majority, they're like, well, okay, this keeps us from voting you out, which is kind of in our plans at some point in the future. So I don't know. It's the entire idea of him approaching someone on the other side. I didn't really see how it would work to his benefit.
I think you're right in that giving it to David was the safest play. Like if you're going low risk, that's the safest play. I think there's ways you could take on more risk with potentially higher reward. I mean, you've got an idol that's split in half. There's presumably Survivor fans around here. You could pretend that it's
a super idol.
Exactly. So you say, hey, listen, this is a super idol. You take this half. I got this half. If you go out, I save you, vice versa. Does that bring someone to your side? I mean, maybe. Like if he has Julie, who he's already got some sort of minor working relationship going with, maybe that works. Maybe she becomes an actual ally at that point.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's so, I think that I don't know what the timeline was on him having to make that decision.
That's true. We don't know, it seemed like he had a decent amount of time to think it over, but who knows?
Right, because if he didn't have that much time, then it's kind of like, it's not an easy plan to come up with and to figure out how to phrase it in a way that would actually really convince someone to help you and not hurt you. Which, again, you show someone that you have an idol, you become a target.
Right. And, as I said, this is obviously taking on more risk, but I think it's potentially higher reward because,
sure,
that one idol maybe helps you. But if you and David are just going to be targets anyway, does it help you that much? I mean, you're still on the bottom. You have to play it effectively and it extends your game for a couple more days. I don't know. Maybe you swing for the fences, and especially like if you're Rick, you're playing with house money at this point. Like you should be gone already. So maybe, you should take more risk, but it's also possible that he's just not the type that can be, conniving and scheming and lie to people's faces as easily. And he recognized that as a liability on his part and was just like, you know what? I'm going to play it safe and partner up with David, who I know I can trust, and get a real idol out of this thing.
Right, which, again, because I think it's also, as you said, this is Rick who's doing this, and everything you just said about him, I think, is 100% true. I don't think Rick could be spinning some elaborate lie and have it be believed. I think Rick is the kind of guy whose enthusiasm bleeds through, and, if you if you can tell when he's telling the truth.
See, this is why Tony is just the king, because he would have done some fun shit with this, right?
Oh, absolutely. I can't even imagine what Tony would have done with this, honestly.
I don't know. It just makes me happy to think about. Please come back for season 40, Tony. I miss you so much. You got robbed in Game Changers. It was terrible. Broke my heart. All right. But speaking of idols, Rick's not even the only one that has one now. There's 3. All of them outside of that comma 6 group. Kelly, Lauren, and Rick. And there may be a merge idol floating around. Do you think this is...
I kind of think that was the merge idol.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Interesting. So only one person even had a shot at the merge idol then?
Yeah, because I think they were doing something different, and I think this is the merge idol.
I disagree. I think there's a merge idol out there somewhere, because I don't feel like, as weird as it was to just basically hand someone something and say yeah, this is it. You're going to get an idol. Just wait 3 days. I think they probably did not take away the normal mechanics of, hey, there's an idol floating around. So if you need to rush and scramble, you at least have a shot to maybe find something.
Maybe. But, again, that's just kind of my opinion on that.
It would put 4 of them out there, which is a lot.
What is the most idols we've ever had in play at one time?
I feel like it is 4.
I thought it was 3. I didn't know if we ever had 4.
I think it was 3 and a legacy advantage is the problem.
That's what it was.
Caught up.
Yeah.
Do you think that these idols are going to end up being the undoing of that comma 6 group?
I don't know if it will be the complete undoing. I think they will be the undoing of at least 1 or perhaps 2 members of that comma 6. I think that, again, I kind of think that some remnant of that comma 6 is going to go pretty far, perhaps win. But I do think they're going to run into some roadblocks along the way because of those idols. Yeah,
I feel like they're going to hit some collateral damage on the way. And, again, with the Joe thing, not to harp on this too much, but you're losing your ability to split votes effectively as you trim your numbers like that.
Yeah, they would have had 8 people. If they took out 1 on the other side, it would have been down to 4.
Right.
And then you can split votes.
Right. So now you've lost that ability.
Yep.
It's not necessarily that they're totally screwed. I think they're, in a good position. It's just they are going to get some collateral damage on the way. There's no way they're going to escape this totally unscathed. One of those idols, as you mentioned, is going to hit somebody. I don't know who
absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
But, even though it's a relatively long odds play, someone's idol's going to work and get someone on the other side.
It's honestly pretty hilarious that of the 6 people on the bottom, so let's exclude Aurora for a moment. Of the 5 people that are there, the people, one of the people they probably most suspect to have an idol is the one who knows nothing about any of the other idols. Because there's only one person in that original Manu 5 who doesn't know, I think, about any of the other idols.
Oh, you mean your boy Sponge Dog?
That's right.
So they're going to assume just based on appearances that he's Tony-like and has found an idol?
Absolutely. And he's going to be the one who's when everyone else is playing idols, he's going to be he's going to be looking around he's the one from Up,
Oh,
and man. He's just it's whoa.
Oh, poor Hamhawk, ruined by appearances.
Yeah, it's just going to be kind of funny because I don't think I think they will avoid targeting Marmaduke because it's he seems like he'd be out looking for idols. And
he's the safest one to target, especially because they're not going to save him.
Absolutely not. You think that Lauren or Kelly is going to play an idol on Gromit? Hell no.
Nope, absolutely not. So are we done talking idols? We want to move on.
Well, no. I do want to say. So you were saying that, what will it mean to the upcoming game? The way I kind of see it is the idols are going to hit a few people in comma, but the reason why they're not going to completely derail someone from comma from winning, or at least controlling the game down the stretch, is because I still don't think these people can work together in the long run. I think they might work together for 1 or 2 votes. I don't think they can work together in the long run. And it's because, like, what did we see this episode? We saw out of nowhere Kelly going, okay, Rick's got to go. We all agree Rick's got to go. And it's like, what the hell? Like, it was a love-in when you voted him out. He doesn't seem to be holding a huge grudge, and yet you're like, he's got to go right now.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw as recently as last season, like, being the minority alliance can sometimes be enough to just bond you, at least for a couple votes.
Yeah, but
just until you tie it up and then immediately blow everything up in your face.
But again, like, I think Kelly, if you look at Cambodia, Kelly's way of being in the minority alliance was to feed the people in the minority alliance who she wasn't close with to the wolves until it just got down to the people she was close with. And then she would try to maneuver them as long as she could until she was the only one left.
And it's, at least then, it was an effective strategy for her. I don't know.
Sure, it was.
I don't know how long it'll carry her this time, but we'll find out. So let's do Marked for Extinction, because we debated back and forth on this, and I think I finally found something that I think is worthy of discussion, at least. Marked for Extinction. Marked for Extinction, for those of you who are just tuning in, first of all, why? It's halfway through the season. But
also welcome?
Yeah, that too. I shouldn't just immediately kick you out, potential audience. So what we're doing this season, our gimmick is that we've decided we're going to kick something out of the Survivor fandom or the show itself that we just don't want to see anymore. Or at least we're going to debate whether we want to see it anymore. And this week, I've chosen a mixed newbie returnee cast as our concept to get rid of. I'm in favor of just not doing this again. What about you?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's hard for me to completely rule it out because, of course, Micronesia is one of my favorite seasons, and that was a mixed cast. But also, that was a season where the returning players just, like, danced all over the idiot newbies, and so, like, the joy of that season was in some ways because of the imbalance to it. And then, of course, the second time they did fans versus favorites, well, one, they didn't even really get favorites.
No. I don't know that they got fans either, to be honest.
That's fair. Yeah, they kind of failed on both sides there. And then the second time, you just saw that in even starker relief when, like, John Cochran's going out there and he's winning all the challenges.
Yeah. I think people are smart enough now the players that they cast are smart enough that it's just, it's a massive handicap on the returnees.
Yes.
At the very least, you should not let your returnees be massively outnumbered, in the way that they are here. I mean, I did, even regardless of the returnee thing, just think back to, like, Game Changers, where you had a small handful of winners. Like, you know that they are going to get taken out by the lesser players. They need numbers to protect them in the same way. Like, if you have a group of returnees, it's got to at least be even to the amount of new players. So, in general, I'm probably fine with ditching the concept entirely and either go all new or all returnee. If you're going to preserve it, though, the best thing you can do is go half and half.
I think that's probably true. I think, and it's tough because, of course, we do have examples of seasons where they went either half and half or only a few that worked out and are among the best seasons. As I mentioned Micronesia earlier, the other example of a really great season where they only had a few people was Philippines, which, is one of our favorite seasons.
It is.
But just because you succeeded at these things once does not mean that you will keep succeeding at them. And I think we've seen that they have diminishing returns. And so, I'm cool knocking these out, for at least a while, if not forever, because I think that it is something with diminishing returns. And I think it is something where you either have it massively unbalanced in favor of the returnees or massively unbalanced against them because it's so easy to knock them out and everyone knows what they have to do at this point.
Right. And I mean, especially having seen those Redemption Island and South Pacific seasons, like, these players should know, get rid of the returnees. Clearly the Kama group has seen those seasons, or at least enough of them have to know, we're not going to fuck around with this. Like, let's get these returnees off here quickly. So play it safe, please, Survivor. Just do the right thing. And if you're doing season 40 casting right now, like if you're doing, I don't know what the hell the theme might be, but we know season 40 is likely to be returnees. If you've got winners, have a lot of winners.
Yeah, like at least a third of your cast. Like at least a third of your cast.
At least, because they need something to shield them because they're the most obvious targets. In the same way that Joe, Aubrey, Kelly, David are obvious targets here.
Right. Right. And here's the thing. If you're going to have people other than winners, you need people who are as dangerous as winners. So Suri is as dangerous as a winner, despite the fact she's never won. So Malcolm is as dangerous as a winner, despite the fact he's never won. And if you're not casting that caliber of person, then you are messing up.
Exactly. All right, so let's move on to, I guess you're in agreement with me. Hooray!
I am, yes. Have we ever had one of these ones where we both didn't agree? I haven't paid attention to anyone else's, so
I don't either. Know. I barely even listen to the podcast when I'm on it, much less you guys. Although I should point out, like, yes, I did listen to last week's, which, full disclosure, was the first one I'd listened to this season.
Oh my God, man.
I've been on vacations and stuff, so that's my excuse. And also I never listen to the ones that I'm on. So anyway, I just want to defend myself. I really did actually know a personal detail about Emma, and thus I did deserve your praise. And yes, maybe I do use it to log into her bank accounts now and then, but as far as she knows, it's only with good intent.
I mean, I assume that you are like trying to like actually invest her money because she's so, because she doesn't know how to.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like, oh, why is your spending up this month? Get it down. Invest. I'm like the benevolent, like, hacker. Just going in and like, no, I'm going to redirect your money to a high yield CD.
I think we've gotten very inside baseball here.
We have. All right, so let's move on to predictions instead and bring this audience back.
Yes.
The audience, by the way, which is much larger than I expected. Again, going right off the rails. I was back on track for 15 seconds and immediately got ADD tonight.
Hey, we are a well-oiled machine, John.
That's right. Let's do some predictions.
Yes.
Only one person because we got a merge tribe. So we shouldn't have anybody coming back from Edge of Extinction this week unless this is a really weird mechanic they've got going on. Who do you got?
Okay, so you know how I said that I thought the idols would blow up in someone's face in the Comma 6?
I do.
I think it's happening this week.
Okay, and
Ron.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. I've just been getting the feeling that like everything for Ron has been building to voting Joe out. So now he's getting voted out. Now that he has achieved his purpose, he can go home.
He achieved what Fishback never could. He slayed the white whale.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm not on board. I think what happens this week is, Aurora does come back into the fold and they maybe pick up Devens as well. And through Devens, probably David. But I think they end up splitting the votes on Wentworth and David. I say Wentworth plays her idol and David goes home.
See, I don't think they'd split the votes on David if Devens is with them.
I don't think that they would assume that that David would be with them. So,
well, I mean, I think he would be like, can we just please split on someone else? And they would just do it on, Lauren. Which would then have the funny thing of them both playing idols and then it backfire.
I mean, I think that they would not tell Devens that their plan is to split it on David. Although, It would be pretty baller if they did. And we're like, listen, this is how you show your loyalty.
Yeah, that would be cutthroat. That would be like some Yakuza stuff, right?
Yeah, it would be. Like, can you imagine, like, Julie has this whole confessional, like, this is immoral. And then this week is like, listen, you're going to pay the blood price this week. Take out David.
She would be instantly become my favorite player.
Oh my God. I'd be building shrines. Julie, if you can do it, you would be my hero.
Yeah, that would be like Boston Rob, who that's how you really work someone over.
Oh yeah, Boston Rob to New York Julie. Out here slaying with no regard.
Yeah.
I would love for that to happen. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, but I want it to.
Yeah.
I willed it into existence this week. I was like, I want Devins to come back from Edge of Extinction. He did. I didn't think he really would, but he did.
I mean, we all wanted him back, I think.
Exactly. Of the options. So, I think there were a few people who may have had some motivations for wanting Chris back, but not quite the same as ours. So let's do some plugs. We have a website.
Yes.
It is purplerockpodcast.com. Hey, if they wanted to find you on Twitter, where would the people find you?
That'd be Purple Rock Matt. Where would they find you?
I am Purple Rock John. I will very rarely tweet. Instead, you should follow the show, which is at Purple Rock Pod, wherein I generally live tweet every week. Due to being a parent, I didn't quite pull it off this week.
Yep.
But generally, I'm going to live tweet the show every week there, and it's entertaining. It's fun. And also you should subscribe to this podcast. You should know how to do that if you're listening to a podcast. And if you want to tune into this podcast again next week, your hosts are going to, I believe, be Andy and Brad. Andy coming back from vacation. Andy, is there anything you want to say about how Matt and I did on this particular podcast?
I agree with everything that John and Matt have said in this episode, although I wish they had yelled more. I enjoy yelling. I am Robot Andy and I live in a country that will elect a moose as prime minister.
All right, so next week, tune in to hear Andy and Brad. Anything else you want to add, Matt?
Nah, I think that's it. Take us away.
Cool. Let's hit that theme music.
It's over.